Hi everyone, it's Tamara here with another card making tutorial. This time I'm using the amazing image from Elvi Studio, Harley Quinn. I'm going to be doing some Copic colouring of Harley and then making a very simple card. As Harley Quinn's a digi-stamp, I've actually already printed it out on some Copic XPress at Cardstock. So I'm going to do Copic colouring with that. Then I'm going to be using the Night City paper pack from La La Land Crafts. And because of this blue and pinks that match in with Harley Quinn's hair, I've chosen this pattern paper from that pack. And initially I was going to use this sentiment, but it ended up being a little bit too big for my card front, so I do swap it out for another sentiment in the end. So we'll start first with the Copic colouring. So I'm going in with as my lightest marker just to work out where my shadows are going to be on Harley Quinn's face. She's kind of tilting her head to the side a little bit, so that side will be in a little bit of shadow, and then obviously you will have some shadows thrown in her shoes and kind of inner thighs, and obviously where any pieces of clothing that may fall over the skin as well. So now I'm going in with my darkest marker, the EO4, to actually reinforce the shadow areas. So I'm just using a small amount of this EO4 because I do want her to be a very kind of light color. So I'm just going into the main shadows with that EO4, just adding a little bit. And I did miss a spot, so I've gone in and done that as well. Now we'll bring in our E11 to blend that EO4 out. And I do have all the colors like shown up on the top left hand corner, but I will have them all in the description box below if you want to refer to any of the colors I use. So I'm just blending out on the legs now with that E11, and then we'll bring in our EO1 to blend that out. And just kind of working into that space where it kind of goes up from her nose into her eye socket. So we're just leaving that main highlight of her kind of middle of her face and her nose. And obviously where the highlights will be on the outside areas of her legs. Now the final color will bring back in that E00 that we first started with to finish off our blend all into our highlight areas. Now she does also have some colors on her face, which I'm going to now replicate here. So I went in with our darkest color first, the RV17, blend that out with the RV13 and finish with the R21. And then the darkest color, the B57 to the B45, and blend it out with the lightest color, the B11. And just to get that going into her skin, I just bled that out with the lightest color, the E00, and just finished off her lips. Now, as you know, I always like to use my C markers to create some shadow on anything that I want to look white. So I've gone in initially with my C3, blend that out with my C1, but leaving plenty of white cardstock so that it does reflect as white. So that's for her eyes and also for the shirt. And now we'll just color up her actual irises, which we're doing in our B markers, ending in our B01. And we can put those catch lights in at a later stage if you do color over them. Now I'm going in with my lightest marker for her hair to work out where all my kind of shadow areas of my hair will be. Obviously there's kind of flowing waves to her ponytails, so I'm just working out where they would fall over one another to work out where my shadows will be. And then obviously also just making sure the highlight's going to be in the center of that two parted hairs, and just flicking out on either side to create our little shadows with our darkest marker, which will be the E44. Now I'm going to blend that out with the E55. Now I'm not going down the bottom of either of those ponytails, or pigtails I should say, because we've got colors that will be going on the bottom of each of those ponytails. So we've got pink that will be on the left side and blue that will be on the right. So with the hair, I'm just working in flicking motions to kind of get some hair strands to her hair. So I'm just kind of flicking up into that white card space, which will be where our highlight will be, and coming down to where that pink will join on this side. Now finishing off with the final color, the E50, to blend it out to that main highlight. So still keeping some white cardstock there to ensure that we've got that nice highlight looking part to her hair. Now I just wanted to reinforce those strands, so I'm going to go back in with the 3 darkest colors, so my E44 first, to just reinforce those strands and reinforce those shadow areas. Just making sure I haven't missed anything. Flicking up just into that hair, and we'll go now with the E55 to blend out that E44. Just nice little flicks, trying to keep your hand as light as possible to get a nice kind of tapered end on those strands. Not sure you're like me, I do find it hard to be like very light-handed, but it definitely, as long as you practice, you'll definitely get there in the end. And now we'll bring in that final color to finish that off with the E50, still making sure you're leaving that white highlight space. Now I'm just going to color her eyebrows just in 2 colors, the E55 and the E53. And now we're going to join up with our pink markers on the left hand side. So that's also on that little bit of hair that comes down the front of her face. And using the RV17 to flick up as our darkest color. I nearly forgot to do a little hairbands, which I'll do in the matching colors on either side. So pink on this side, blue on the other. So then we go the RV21 to blend out the RV13. I nearly forgot that little hair clip again. And my final color will be the RV10. So again, I'm going to reinforce those little hair strand lines, going in with the darkest marker, the RV17 again, the RV13, not forgetting that little hairband at the top, RV21, and then the final RV10, and then I realized I forgot her little hair clip and come in with the RV21 and the RV10. Now I wanted to kind of reinforce those strands, so I've just grabbed one of my polychromo pencils in pink, and I'm just going to get that kind of like the strands done a little bit more, and just blending the lighter colors of the hair to blend that pink color in. And then I remembered I forgot that little hair part at the front of her face, so I've just gone in with our markers again and finished that off with the RV10 and RV50 joining up. Now we'll continue with the right hand side with the blue. So I'm just going in again with the lightest color, my BG11, to set out where all my shadows will be. Now we're going in with the BG78 to do our little flicks of hair, the BG57 to blend that out, just working out from that darkest color. BG45 is next. Again, just flicking down into that white card space, and then we'll go in with our lightest color again, the BG11, to work that up into the blonde hair. So now I'm just going to again reinforce that. I didn't need to worry about her hairband, that turned out really well with the one coat, but I'm just going to reinforce those hair flicks with all the other colors, working through them into that lighter space again. Just working that down with the final color, the BG11. And I just thought I'll just add a little bit of that blue kind of coming up into that blonde hair, and just kind of go over that with the lightest color for the blonde, which was the E50. And again, I've grabbed out one of my polychromo pencils just to do some flicks to her hair. So we'll work on her baseball bat now. So I want it to look like a round object, so I just left a little bit of white space on the bottom and a larger amount on the top, so that looks like it is got like a kind of shine all the way around. So we'll just reinforce that shadow, blend that out with the E44, still leaving that little bit of lighter space down the bottom, and then finally blend that fully out, including that down the space down the bottom with the E42. And it does have kind of like a kind of bony looking handle, so I'm just using two colors, the E84 and the E81, to do that. Now on her shirt, that I kind of used a reference from the recent movies, and she does have kind of like red stripes on her shirt. So I'm just using a pencil because I'm a little bit of a nervous drawer, so I always like to use pencils before I actually color anything. So I've also added some tears that are in her shirt as well. So now obviously her skin will be showing through those tears, so we want to add a little bit of shadow with our EO4, but they will be kind of darker because they're a bit shadowed from that shirt. Now I'm going to start coloring the red portions of her outfit, so obviously all her red stripes on her shirt, and also the red stripe or the red part on her actual shorts as well. So it's kind of a blue one side, red the other. So I went in actually with an E29 to kind of get a deeper shadow, and then I'm just working through my reds, so R29, blending that out with the R27, and my final color that I'll blend out with will be the R24. So I didn't need to worry about her shorts because they are only quite small down there, but just using the R24 on this shirt to have the highlights up the top. So we'll go in now with the blue, which is just on this kind of right hand side of her shorts. So we blended that out, and obviously I nearly forgot the little red to her heart on her leg. I only needed the two colors, so I went R29 as my darker color, and then blend that out with the R24. So I've just done her belt, and now I'm just going to do all the black portions. So we've got her belt, her necktie, her arm wristbands, her little gloves, and the shoes as well. So I'm just using my W markers. So I'm just going in with the lightest color, the W6, to work out where all my shadows will be. Then we'll go in with the darker color, the W10, to blend that out, and go into her shorts and her shoes, working out into that highlight space. Next will be the W8, just working out that now. Don't forget the glove, and we'll go back down to her boots. So there are kind of like little ties which will do that in a kind of a grey, looking like a kind of white colour, which will bring our C markers back for. Now we'll fill in with that original colour, the W6, to fill in the rest of our highlight. Don't forget a little neck, and then we'll finish off with those shoes. Totally fierce. So blend out to our highlight, and then we'll bring in our, I nearly forgot her little ring up the top, so I'm going to use the same colours I used for her belt buckle, and then we'll bring back those C markers again to add our little shadows for our little sections on her boots, and blend out finally with the C00. Now again, I'm just going to bring out my pencil to work out where I want her stockings to be. So I'm just kind of going with the shape of her legs, so kind of curving that around. And obviously this is a lot more curved because she's got that leg bent. So I'm just again curving those stockings around, not forgetting that part underneath and also in the boot that will be showing through. And then I'm just going to grab out a pencil. I just use like a darker grey marker, not a black marker, because I want to make sure you can see those tattoos underneath. So I'm just going over my pencil drawn lines. You could use a marker for this, but I feel a bit more comfortable doing such fine line work with a pencil. So we'll fill in around her boots. And then I just wanted to reinforce where I had coloured in those little things. You don't need to do this. I just like to kind of reinforce those lines because I do have the black lines on my actual image. So you want to make it all look the same. So, and that's all coloured up. And I did realise I missed that top part. Now I've cut her all out. Now this originally was the sentiment that I was going to use, but as I said, it was too big. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to center this stitch rectangle die. I'm just trying to work out, I want to make sure that rising sun is seen there. So I was initially going to do it kind of to one side, but I'm thinking centering it is going to make it look really good, and you'll still be able to see that sun rising with Harley Quinn standing on the left hand side of it. So I've now run that through my die cutting machine, so we'll just pull off the washi tape to reveal our beautiful panel. So that's perfectly centered, and you've got that beautiful detailing, the stitching detailing around the edges. So these paper packs are really amazing. You can get these from La La Land Crafts, and Whimsy Stamps do them as well. And it just makes card making really simple. You know, you've got this whole wonderful background already done. So you just have to color up an image, pop on a sentiment, and your card's ready to go. So now I've actually got out a piece of black cardstock and just prepped it with my anti-static powder tool. I've using my Watermark ink to stamp out my sentiment, and we'll just pop on some white heat embossing powder, just using my folded piece of paper to catch any residue that comes off. Now there were a little bit of stray bits. Even sometimes when you use your anti-static powder tool, you will get little pieces fly off. So I just use this kind of angled brush and just be very careful working around it, but just to clear off any excess little particles. Otherwise, when you do heat set that, they will show around. So I just find this really cleans up any kind of heat embossing, and you don't get any of that white splatter that you sometimes see around the outside. So I'd preheated my heat tool, and I'm just going in now, getting that all nice and melted, and we'll set that aside to dry. And when that's dry, I just use a little cloth to wipe off the excess powder. So now I just want to cut around that, and I have cut and scored a black card base already, so that's going to work perfectly in with those black portions of this card, and just make those colors on there really pop. Just working out where I want that to sit and how big I'll need our sentiment strip to be. So I did have this banner die in my stash. It is a perfect size for this sentiment. I'm not going to worry about using these little fishtails on the end, just keeping this rectangle itself, and I'm just thinking that sentiment's going to fit perfectly just above, kind of sitting on top of that cloud, and then Harley Quinn will fit perfectly just on that left hand side there, just still showing that sun shining through. So I'm just checking that I'm putting that pattern paper on the correct side of my card base, giving that a good press down. I do set that underneath a book when it's drying, so that it makes sure that it adheres properly. So while that's sitting under that book drying, I'm just going to now get all our foam tape on the back of our sentiment and also on Harley Quinn. So I needed a bigger piece there, but kind of only smaller pieces, so I'll just use that thinner foam tape to go up her body, and we'll just put a couple of little squares just on those hair pieces to make sure that she's fully supported. Now that that's dry, I've pulled off all the release paper to my image and sentiment. So I'm just going to line Harley Quinn up, just kind of sitting, showing that sun coming up, but just sitting on top of the stitching down the bottom, but still sitting on the card. She could be hanging off, but I like her fully attached to the card base. And now we're going to organize where we'll put this sentiment, so just along, kind of matching in with the edge of that pattern paper, making sure that's straight before I give that a good press down. And this is the finished card for this tutorial. I absolutely love this image and love coloring her up, and I think she works perfectly with this beautiful pattern paper from La La Land Crafts, and I love that sentiment. I think it definitely suits Harley Quinn, that's for sure. And I will be actually putting that original sentiment that I was going to use on the inside of this card to finish it off for the friend that I've made it for. I hope you've enjoyed this card making tutorial. If you have, please hit the like button, and if you'd like to see any future videos, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.